Why do killer whales attack boats? According to scientists, it's probably just fun. For several years, killer whale attacks on boats and yachts have been occurring off the coast of the Iberian Peninsula. Nearly 700 such cases have been counted since 2020. According to scientists, the killer whale's behavior may just be for fun and is probably due to having a bit more free time, and it has to do with tuna. Since 2020, a small group of killer whales off the coast of Morocco, Spain, and Portugal have been attacking medium-sized boats, usually smaller than 12 meters. This has happened at least 673 times so far. Usually, as a result of ramming and prodding, boats suffer various types of damage, usually to the rudders, but there have been cases of sinking. For the safety of ships, the governments of Spain and Portugal commissioned a report on the strange behavior of killer whales, which was recently published. The report, written by International Whaling Commission biologists, marine industry representatives and officials, explains the attacks and offers advice on how to deal with them. According to the report, the killer whale's behavior is not aggressive, although it may appear so. The authors of the document reached these conclusions after analyzing video records of attacks, hunts and other recordings showing these animals in their environment. They determined that it was probably a game played by adolescents with too much free time. In light of available observations and reports of interactions, the group concluded that there is no evidence that interactions between killer whales and ships are aggressive. This behavior has more in common with trends observed elsewhere and appears to be related to play or socialization, the authors of the document wrote. This may be due to the recent increase in the abundance and availability of their favorite prey, bluefin tuna. Thanks to this, they spend less time foraging and more time playing. Tunas were previously the target of overfishing and their numbers fell to critical levels in the late 1990s and early 2000s. But populations in the eastern Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea have largely recovered over the past 15 years. 15 young males are engaged in play. Something about the boat's rudder seems to attract them, especially the young ones, which are usually very curious. The behavior may have started with one animal initiating the behavior after touching the boat's rudder and finding it fun to play with. Then other individuals felt the same way and the behavior spread to most of the herd. The authors emphasized in the report that different killer whale populations around the world have distinct dietary habits. They added that some may also develop unusual and temporary fads and other peculiarities that do not appear to serve any obvious purpose. They also gave examples of such peculiar behavior. In 1987, a female killer whale in the northeastern Pacific Ocean began carrying dead salmon on her head. This behavior spread over the next 5 to 6 weeks. The effect was that killer whales from her own and 2 other pods wore hats made of dead salmon. Then, suddenly, the fad ended. Apart from a few incidents the following summer, the trend of wearing salmon hats never occurred again. The research group suggests in the paper that boat ramming may have evolved from observing boat propellers, in which killer whales place their heads near the jet from the propeller. Although no other group of orcas have gone so far as to damage their rudders, the report suggests that more playtime and more juveniles may have led to this trend. It may have started in very young individuals and these initial pranks did not result in damage to the rudder, but as the orcas grew older the trend may have intensified. A similar escalation in behavior has been observed in a population of killer whales living in southern Washington state, U.S., where killer whales play with porpoises in the harbor. This game sometimes goes so bad that the porpoises die. Understanding that this behavior is not aggressive will help you limit potentially dangerous interactions. Attempts to deter killer whales using explosives, which are increasingly carried by those swimming in this area, although they are illegal due to the fact that these animals are at risk of extinction, probably reinforce the behavior and increase the risk of damage to ships. Ramming boats may be fun for killer whales, but it's certainly not for sailors. The authors of the report suggest sound deterrence, although in the long run animals may associate the sound with the game of wrecking the boat. They also indicate that modifying the rudders to make them uneven or even bristling with spikes may help. Although this is harmless to animals, it could make the rudders uninteresting for them. Such trials are scheduled to take place this summer. The research group also appeals not to swim in waters where similar cases have occurred, and if an attack occurs, you should try to move away from the animals towards an area where a possible rescue operation can be quickly undertaken. Stepping away from animals does not guarantee that interactions will end or that harm will be prevented, but it may reduce the likelihood that it will occur. Seafarers should notify authorities as soon as such an incident begins, which should help rescue operations be undertaken more quickly if necessary, the authors emphasize. Giant viruses discovered in Greenland may be causing ice to melt. Danish scientists have discovered huge viruses in the Greenland ice that appear to be influencing the melting of the ice sheet. They infect algae and limit their growth, so they can be used to slow down the melting of ice, opening a new path to mitigating climate change. Viruses cannot be seen with the naked eye. Most are in the range of 20 to about 300 nanometers. The viruses discovered in Greenland can reach up to 2.5 micrometers, or 2,500 nanometers, which means they are about 125 times larger than normal viruses. They are even larger than most bacteria. A typical bacterium is 2 to 3 micrometers, and also have large genomes, containing about 2.5 million base pairs. Danish scientists from Aarhus University discovered viruses on the ice sheet. They share an environment with microscopic algae. Scientists believe that by infecting algae, viruses can influence the melting of the ice cap. The description and results of the research were published in the journal Microbiome. Spring in the Arctic means a burst of life. This doesn't just apply to polar bears or other large animals. Algae dormant in the ice also come to life. When they bloom, they cover large areas of ice, turning it darker. This reduces the ice's ability to reflect sunlight, increasing its melting. Newly discovered viruses infect microscopic algae and, according to researchers, may be a way to control algal blooms. Perhaps in the long run they will help reduce the melting of ice. We don't know much about these viruses, but I think they could be useful in mitigating ice melt caused by algal blooms. How specific they are and how effective it would be, we don't know yet. But by examining them further, we hope to answer some of these questions, says Dr. Laura Perini from the Faculty of Environmental Sciences at Aarhus University. Giant viruses were first discovered in 1981. Then scientists found them in the ocean. They were classified in the so-called group Large Nucleocytoplasmic DNA Viruses, NCLDV, forming the order Megavirales, megaviruses. It turned out that they specialize in infecting algae, green algae. In later years, they were found in the soil and even in humans. Now researchers have found them on the surface of ice and snow dominated by algae. We analyzed samples from dark ice, red snow, and cryoconites, depressions on the surface of glaciers filled with water, where microflora develops. Editor's note. We found signatures of active giant viruses in both dark ice and red snow. And this is the first time they have been found on the surface of ice and snow containing large amounts of pigmented microalgae, Perini points out. There is an entire ecosystem around algae. In addition to bacteria, fungi, and yeast, there are protists that eat algae, various species of fungi that parasitize them, and giant viruses that infect them. To understand the biological control agents acting on algal blooms, we need to study these latter three groups, Perini continues. Scientists found the viruses by analyzing all the DNA from the samples. By searching this huge dataset for specific genes, they found sequences with high similarity to known giant viruses. To ensure that the viral DNA did not come from long-dead microorganisms but from live and active viruses, the team also extracted mRNA from the sample. When the DNA sequences that make up genes are activated, they are transcribed into single-stranded fragments called mRNA. These fragments act as recipes for building the proteins the virus needs. If they are present, the virus is active. But to use these recipes, the virus must transcribe them from double-stranded DNA to single-stranded mRNA. Regular viruses cannot do this. They have strands of RNA floating around in the cell, waiting to be activated when a virus infects the body and hijacks its cellular machinery to transcribe. But giant viruses can do this themselves, which makes them very different from normal viruses. Because giant viruses are a relatively new discovery, little is known about them. Unlike most other viruses, they have many active genes that enable them to repair, replicate, transcribe, and translate DNA. Researchers don't know how they manage to do it. But there are more questions about huge viruses. It is not known whether they only infect algae or, for example, protists as well. We continue to study giant viruses to learn more about their interactions and exactly what role they play in the ecosystem. This year we will publish another study with additional information about the giant viruses that infect algae growing on the ice surface of the Greenland ice sheet, Perini concludes. The last major collision of the Milky Way was surprisingly recent. The Milky Way has collided with other galaxies many times over its long life. Each of these collisions left a mark in the form of ripples that can still be seen among different populations of stars because they affect the way they move and behave in space. Recent observations made with the Gaia telescope have shown that the last collision of the Milky Way took place billions of years later than previously thought. Gaia is an unmanned space mission launched in 2013. Its mission is to create a three-dimensional map of the Milky Way by measuring the positions and motions of nearly 1% of the galaxy's stars. This is a mission conducted by the European Space Agency, ESA, to which Poland belongs. ESA published the first preliminary catalogue of data from the Gaia satellite in 2016. The second one appeared in 2018, and the third one in 2022. The latest of these publications contains detailed data on almost 2 billion stars in our galaxy. The catalogue contains information such as chemical composition, temperatures, colors, masses, ages, and radial speed of stars, i.e. the speed at which the star is moving away from us or closer to us. Additional data subsets include changes in stellar brightness, the largest ever catalogue of binary stars, and information on thousands of solar system objects such as asteroids and moons, as well as information on millions of galaxies and quasars beyond the Milky Way. In this database, scientists found strange data about the motion of stars that can be most easily explained by assuming that they came from another galaxy and were absorbed by the Milky Way during a collision with another galaxy. Scientists explain that there have been many such collisions in the past, but the latest one occurred surprisingly recently. The description and results of the research were published in the journal Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society. During its long life, the Milky Way has experienced collisions with other galaxies many times. As a result of these collisions, our galaxy grew, absorbing alien stars and planets. Each of these collisions created ripples that are still visible in some star populations, affecting the way they move and behave in space. We become more wrinkled as we age, but our work reveals that the opposite is true for the Milky Way. It's a kind of cosmic Benjamin Button that becomes less wrinkled over time, says Thomas Donlan of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and the University of Alabama in Huntsville, U.S., lead author of the new study. By watching these ripples fade away over time, we can trace when the Milky Way had its last major collision, and it turns out it happened billions of years later than we thought, he adds. Galaxy mergers are a relatively common phenomenon in the universe. These collisions leave behind waves from the stars, which the research team describes as ripples in the galaxy and which still ripple in some parts of it. New analyses of data from the Gaia telescope suggest that some of the observed ripples indicate that our galaxy's last major collision occurred only 3 billion years ago. The ripples in question were only discovered in 2018 by the Gaia telescope, and this study is the first to precisely time the collision that caused them by comparing observations with cosmological simulations. The Milky Way's halo, the spherical region that surrounds the galaxy's disk, contains a large group of stars with unusual orbits, many of which are believed to have been welcomed into our galaxy in an event that astronomers call the Last Big Merger. As the name suggests, it is the latest in a major collision with another galaxy, which researchers believe was most likely a massive dwarf galaxy. This collision produced many stars that pass very close to the center of our galaxy. When galaxies collide, one collides with the other at high speed. Stars from the smaller galaxy spread out and mix with the original population of the larger one, in this case the Milky Way, but still have high velocities. Their influence on the galaxy is not permanent. Over time, the orbits of alien stars adjust and the wrinkles smooth out. So by seeing the ripple effects of collisions, you can try to learn the history of recent mergers. For the ripples to be as pronounced as seen in Gaia data, they must have joined us less than 3 billion years ago, at least 5 billion years later than previously thought, said CO author Heidi Jo Newberg of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Scientists indicate that the relatively new, distinct ripples must come from an event that occurred less than 3 billion years ago. We can see how the shapes and number of ripples change over time, using simulations of different possible mergers. This allows us to pinpoint the time at which the simulation best matches what we see in the actual Gaia data for the Milky Way. Thanks to this, we discovered that the ripples were probably created by the collision of a dwarf galaxy with the Milky Way about 2.7 billion years ago. We called this event the Virgo radial impact, says Donlan. Microplastics found in every semen sample tested. Microplastic pollution is ubiquitous. Tiny pieces of plastic are already found almost everywhere on the planet, in the air, water, and soil. They also get into our bodies. In a recent study, Chinese scientists found plastic particles in every semen sample tested. They noted that microplastics may be responsible for a global decline in fertility rates. Tiny plastic particles created from the plastic waste we throw away have been found almost everywhere on Earth. They have been discovered on mountain peaks, remote islands, in the upper layers of the atmosphere and in the depths of the oceans. Moreover, they have also been found in many organs of our bodies. Plastic can enter our body in many ways. We can drink it with water from a bottle, we can absorb it with our breath or consume it with food. Scientists note that it is currently virtually impossible to avoid consuming microplastics, and we eat about 5 grams of it every day. The impact of plastic particles on health remains unknown. Around the world, many scientists are investigating this issue, suspecting that consuming microplastics may cause many inflammatory diseases. Microplastics are also suspected of lowering fertility rates. In research published a few weeks ago, scientists detected significant concentrations of microplastics in the testicular tissue of humans and dogs. Now researchers from China have found plastic particles in every semen sample tested. The description and results of the research were published in the journal Science of the Total Environment. Microplastics, i.e. plastic particles with a diameter of less than 5 mm, are a growing problem for the environment and public health. They are present almost everywhere on the planet, in the air, water, and soil. They are found on remote islands and even in the Arctic. They are also present in food and drinking water. But these particles enter our bodies not only through ingestion, but also through inhalation. Since the early 1950s, plastic consumption around the world has increased exponentially, translating into thousands of tons of waste ending up in landfills and oceans each year. In landfills, but more so in the oceans, these plastics begin to crumble into smaller and smaller pieces under the influence of ultraviolet radiation in sunlight and the constant friction caused by waves. Once plastic trash has broken down to the point where it can no longer be seen with the naked eye, tiny pieces of it continue to pollute the environment. This material not only enters our digestive system, but can also penetrate the intestinal barrier. Tiny pieces of plastic have been found in human saliva, lungs, stool samples, placenta, and blood. The particles settle in the respiratory tract and can even penetrate the brain. In a recent study, scientists from several Chinese institutions looked for microplastics in semen samples collected from 36 healthy adult men from the eastern Chinese city of Jinan. None of them worked in the plastics industry. Each sample was prepared by mixing it with a chemical solution and then filtered for analysis using a microscope. Scientists found microplastics in every sample. In total, they observed 8 types of plastics, but the most common was polystyrene, a material that is the basis of many plastics, commonly used to insulate buildings in the form of styrofoam, but also for the production of packaging. Moreover, in the semen samples tested, especially those containing polyvinyl chloride, scientists noticed lower sperm motility. Men's sperm counts have been declining for decades, and scientists don't quite know what's responsible. The Chinese study may help explain this decline. The authors emphasize that further research is needed on the potential reproductive harm caused by microplastics. As emerging research increasingly points to microplastic exposure as a potential contributor to human health, understanding the extent of contamination and its relationship to reproductive outcomes is imperative, said Ning Li of Qingdao University in China. Studies in mice show a significant decrease in the number of viable sperm and an increase in sperm deformation, suggesting that exposure to microplastics may pose a chronic, cumulative risk to male reproductive health, he added.